Hello guys, this is Friday, a video from my office, not that much about Laravel from technical point of view, but more about dev career trends. And I noticed one trend that I want to discuss with you. That's why it's a video with my face in the corner, not with full face on the screen, because I want to show you something. So as you probably know, I'm really active on Twitter watching the trends and new things like AI, for example. I noticed that everything on Product Hunt is AI. And this is one example of like new shiny things that seem to be everywhere. Other examples maybe Livewire is everywhere. A lot of Laravel Livewire project. Similar Filament on the right. It seems to be everywhere because it's trending on Twitter and in Laravel community. Another new shiny thing, for example, 8.4 released, PHP 8.4. So let's celebrate that and let's use them everywhere. But actually, if you zoom out of that circle of the new shiny objects on the ground in real jobs of developers, not necessarily Laravel developers, the reality is very different. So I have two thoughts about it and let me demonstrate. First, recently I made a research about job posting, 50 job posts from various sources like Larajobs, LinkedIn and Upwork, and tried to assign tags. And those tags, if I zoom in on just the image, as you can see, the most popular thing is Vue.js, and here you can see that there's Angular here and jQuery here. And Livewire isn't on the list in the top 20 at all. So what I'm saying here is what's new and sexy on Twitter and in Laravel community doesn't necessarily is used on the ground in typical jobs for Laravel developers. And let me show you the reason for that. So if we take a look at Indeed job board Laravel jobs, random 2 Laravel jobs, for example, web developer here on the right, you can see the job description, and the actual duty of a developer is maintaining customer portals and work closely with core programming team, which means you're hired as a developer into the existing application. You aren't creating a new application. Second job post, senior level PHP developer. What will you be doing section? The role is for senior developer, looking for someone with experience who can quickly learn and understand our code base. Again, which means it's not a new application. So in reality, in majority of jobs you can see you are hired into existing application, which may be created 5 years ago or even more. And it may or may not be updated to the latest Laravel or PHP versions. And even if it was updated, usually it doesn't get recreated using all the new shiny tools like Inertia, Livewire, or stuff like that. So I realized that and thought maybe I'm partially to blame here because in my courses and tutorials I constantly talk about new things that Laravel released, new trends like Livewire, Inertia, or Filament. But actually on the ground, the reality is different, and I expressed it in another tweet because I realized there should be more tutorials on existing applications, on older versions, and how to maintain the old application. So with that, I have two kind of pieces of advice for you. First, don't chase the shiny things. If you see something trending on Twitter or elsewhere in terms of Laravel or any other new AI editor, for example, or AI assistants, realistically, it will be adopted by a really small percentage of the market at first, and typical companies would still prefer to use the old stable tech stack and will experiment with new technologies only when they are adopted enough, stable, secure, and maintained for a while. So one of the things you should maybe learn in Laravel is differences between versions. So which feature was released in which Laravel version, so you would be able to work with Laravel versions in different projects with different versions and would know how to update them if necessary. And the second thought in this video is kind of a question to you. Do you imagine what tutorials I could create? Because in this tweet I'm saying it's hard to create a tutorial on older application, on maintaining older code base, because each application is different. But is there any typical problem or typical scenario that I would create a tutorial or maybe a full course about? So imagine the realistic scenario, or maybe describe your own situation at your job with your project without mentioning any titles or names or details. In other words, how's your reality on the ground without looking at shiny new Laravel versions and new tools. How can I help you guys with my tutorials or pieces of advice or maybe some tweets or pointing to somewhere? Let's discuss that reality of the old applications in the comments below, because only a few % of the jobs are about creating new software. Someone needs to still maintain and upgrade the old applications. What do you think about this random train of thoughts from my head? Let's discuss, and see you guys in other videos.